Hello everybody, welcome back. Let's have a look at Bitcoin, and I'm going to do a bit of a recap on some of these coins that I suppose we've been doing these calls over the last 2-3 weeks or so. We'll see how some of those have already met pretty much exactly their targets. Some of them have still got a little bit to go. They might not make it. But some of them have definitely made it. So first, we'll start off with a bit of Bitcoin. Bitcoin, I have to say, looks absolutely primed to make that big push up to, I suppose we'll call it the upper 50,000, $57,000-$58,000 Bitcoin zone. Anyway, if we look down here, it's been slow and steady all the way up between the 10 and the 20 exponential moving average. We're just turning up very nicely on the histogram there of the MACD. Money flow index and RSI looking really good. And in fact, if we have a think about what the RSI is doing here, there was bearish divergence playing out, but it's broken out of that, looking for a retest of the trend line. So bearish divergence hasn't played out; it's failed, which is actually pretty bullish. Doesn't mean that there can't be a pullback. You know, even if there is a pullback, you know, we have to think about certain moving averages that might get tested, both coming in at more or less around 50,000. So if we did have a pullback, 50,000 would be a very likely place for that to rebound from. Now, it could come down further. The 21 seems to have had a couple of tests, and that comes in at 48,800 thereabouts. But overall, I'm pretty bullish on this daily. Any pullback, in my opinion, should be is probably worth the, you know, either topping back up or taking a long position. You know, but I'm not a financial advisor. That's my strategy. You guys do what you want to do. The weekly looks pretty awesome as well. Very much like the entire market kind of looks like this, apart from some of the altcoins that we trade that do look like this have already kind of launched. This one looks very much like it's still brewing. So as far as Bitcoin's concerned, there's really not much other ways to cut it. A small pullback, you know, maybe to as much as 48,800 could kick in. Any pullback, in my opinion, is worth buying, but obviously be careful, you know. Now, I'm fully Bitcoined up, but yeah, I mean, yeah, that's how I see the market. Dips are for buying. Right, let's have a quick recap of some of these that we've been trading. So StormX did that pump pretty much on the exact target, right? So I know that this looks like, oh, you've just drawn that in. Well, you'll have to go back and have a look at the analysis I've made. I mean, it's all there to see, and I'm very impressed with the way that this has worked out. So a giant big move up, sold to my to Bitcoin, and then a big dump back down. And if anything is to take place around here, you know, it was a make or break. We should really be bouncing from this 10 exponential and then going on to make more. It might not happen though, because in the event that Bitcoin does rally to, you know, 57,000, 58,000, sats are likely going to get drained across the board, and that might push this one down. If it does get pushed down further, you know, it's choppy down in these areas, but we'll be expecting to hold above 72 sats, as that was the major resistance that we broke through, causing the big pump up to these levels. But again, you know, this one worked out perfectly. A giant big move up, sell, and straight back down again, you know. And depending on how the market looks overall, you know, over this next week, and how Bitcoin behaves and the reaction that alts have to that reaction from Bitcoin, maybe we could maybe I'll go in again on this one, just for another one too. Because if you think about what I've done here, it was a matter of buying into it, a strong chart that's pushing resistance around about 66, I think, was my entry point, perhaps, just give or take. And then what we've done there is we had a giant big push up, 75%. So what I've done there is essentially, to a large extent, close to doubling the amount of Bitcoin that I put into it in a very short space of time. Not getting too greedy, which is what I said on that video maybe last week or the week before. Don't get too greedy. Stack those sats, stack the Bitcoin, because as disappointing as it might sound, I do think that Bitcoin will, even if it's just for a short period of time, drain the sats out of some of these alts. And so you want to, I suppose I want to, and try and earn as much Bitcoin as possible, choosing to use Bitcoin as my currency, my trading pair, and the way that I view my balance, I view it in the form of Bitcoin and not how much the Bitcoin's worth, you know. So it's trading Bitcoin for, you know, making more Bitcoin. So this one worked out really well, really fast, so I'm very happy with that one. And maybe I can get back in, depending on how Bitcoin behaves. Maybe this would be an entry point. If not, 72 sats, probably a bit safer. VRA, another one that's worked out pretty well. So we're looking at this on the Bitcoin pairing. So first sell target. I mean, I did sell some prior to this, but based on the Bitcoin pairing that I wanted to sell at, 9,000 sats hit. and extended, and now if we think about how we're performing, we seem to be within the upper middle version of the lower middle version of the pitchfork tool here. So I would expect us to carry on with this performance, but we may not. We may get brought down to the lower areas, or maybe just these areas. But for the moment, it's doing all right. Even so, first major sell target hit at 9,000 sats, and I'm not entirely sure where my entry point was, to be honest with you, and I can't really remember, but I could imagine that would be a safe bet for me. That's the sort of place that I would have got in on this after a rise and a consolidation and a retest of bullish moving averages. So we'll just we'll go for this higher one here, just for the sake of it, and that again was a 123% versus Bitcoin. So again, over doubling my amount of Bitcoin for that portion of the investments, and that's a big golden tick on that one. And again, I'm still holding actually quite a lot of VRA, but 2 sells so far, one based on Tether and one based on Bitcoin. So another excellent trade there so far. XRP still lagging. That's what it's famous for. I do expect this one to turn up though any minute now, looking pretty good, I would say. But this is a no trade zone, as we're in a giant area of resistance, as low as 32. Sorry, that's $1.32, and as high as $1.45. This is all one area of resistance. So you could view this giant zone over here as almost like a cloud, the Ichimoku cloud, for instance. So it's a bit of a no trade zone. Pushing up, I would imagine once we break here, it shouldn't take too long to get to $1.52. But to be honest with you, when XRP has a chart like this, which is a very nice looking chart, I think the pump will be extended all the way up to our previous high and then probably beyond. But until then, we're just going to be floating around in no man's land in this resistance box. So this is a trade still in the making, and to be honest with you, this is one of the longest term trades I've been in. Got in basically at this accumulation zone just before the pump, and I've been in ever since. Really, never decided to put any more into it. The idea was on this trade, you buy after the parabolic highs has finished consolidating, and then we reverse the chart. I've said it the entire time, the chart will reverse. It will reverse, but we have to get outside of the giant consolidation, which we have. So now the chart is reversing just as I expected it to, and I expect it to continue this way all the way up to a new all-time high and beyond. I'm not a massive moon boy, though. I'm not going to tell you that it's going to reach 500 and whatever the holy grail amount is, 500 and something dollars per XRP. I'll be scaling out around about $4. But once it gets to $4, my expectations, I'm not here to try and dampen the concept that it could reach $10 or more. It could, of course, it could. And when I make these sort of they're not predictions, but they are possibilities. When I say these sort of things, people will often say to me, "But that makes the market cap blah 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 blah." And I'm like, "Yeah, but how long is the market cap going to stay like that for?" Knowing XRP, just the way it behaves after every single pump, the market cap will probably stay like an extraordinarily high level for what? A few days, a week, and then what will happen to it? Do you know what I mean? And this is always it's the same response I would give to anyone who says, that's an unrealistic thing, the market cap would be blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, yeah, of course it would be for a few days, and then it dumps as the market rotates, so the market cap will be massive on XRP one day, then it'll be massive on PundiX the next day, then it'll be massive on, I don't know, VRA the next day. And what really is happening is that those market caps are basically just rotating from one asset to another asset to another asset. The idea is we look at the market cap of cryptocurrency as a whole, and just expect rotation from one to the next to the next. Very rare will you see an altcoin reach a certain market cap and retain that position for a prolonged period of time. Over time it will happen, but that's all to do with the amount of money that's flowing into the market in general. If the market isn't receiving any new money and what we're seeing is a rotation from one to the next to the next to the next, it's not unrealistic to say that XRP could reach $10, for instance, and the market cap would be astronomically high, and unrealistic to imagine that. I mean, it's not unrealistic. It's the nature of the market. The market rotates from one to the next to the next to the next, and it's up to us to get on the right side of these rotations based on the charts that are in front of us. Don't expect XRP to get to $10 and stay at $10, but for it to get to $10 is not completely unrealistic. Anyway, that's enough on that one. FET doing really well, but still, in my opinion, got much further to go. We spoke about this chart. I think this is the last video I made, actually. So I've been in on this one since half. I always say that it's not half a cent; it's 5.5 cents. So I'm happy to continue holding this one to see how far it goes. I took profit on the first pump around these levels, and the rest has been riding all the way down, which is a little painful. But now all the way back up to a new all-time high for its tether pairing. But for the Bitcoin pairing, this is where it got interesting. So just a quick recap on this one. We had the conversion baseline cross above the cloud, Chiku span above price action. This is a very good signal for a continuation of a trend on a weekly as well. Let's see how high we are. We're not very high at all on the money flow index, so this could easily meet the first target, 2,600 sats. That's not a problem. I don't think it's not a problem. Not saying that's going to happen overnight, but I don't think that's an unrealistic target. It doesn't even matter what Bitcoin does. If Bitcoin goes up, down, or sideways, I think that target's likely to get hit. Remember, guys, I'm not a financial advisor. I bought in on this one very low, so it's not for me to say buy this now. I would never say that, but I mean, I have it. My trade is very successful at the moment. And I will not be adding to this position, certainly not. I will be taking out of this position from this level and beyond. But yeah, I mean, this is working. Another one that's working extremely well. But the target is all the way up here, which would mean that from where we are at this very moment in time to where we need to be, another 57% move. That's not unrealistic. That's not unrealistic. And to be honest with you, once we get to that level, that's where we could really see some massive, essentially a blue sky breakout, because this doesn't really count. I would say that these are the areas, and perhaps maybe between here and here are the areas between for a blue sky breakout. And yeah, maybe this whole area can be reclaimed. Kind of said on the live streams I do for Patreon members that this could end up doing a Matic style vibe. Yeah, it could. Maybe not as amazingly powerful as Matic, but along the same kind of lines. But that's a might. And again, based upon the chart, yeah, we've got a trend continuation on a weekly. That's a very strong and very positive thing to see. And I would expect higher highs to continue probably for the rest of the cycle. But it doesn't mean that this doesn't come without risk. Of course it does. It comes with massive risk. Let's just check the daily, see how extended we are on the daily here, see if we need to be worried. Not particularly. 72 on the money flow index. The RSI is high, but it could obviously go higher. So again, this is based on a weekly chart rather than a daily, so we do have to just allow for this sort of thing to play out. So we'll leave that as it is. Right, let's go on to a couple of not negative or bad trades, but trades that are yet to fulfill. EOS, obviously, we're always waiting on EOS. We're always waiting on this beast. I have to say though, it's not the worst looking chart. I still am expecting 1,600 sats for this one to be met. We're consolidating still in a way, but in an uptrend also. We're above the cloud. One of the first times we've been above the cloud in a long time, and being above the cloud is a good thing. Being rejected on this 200 exponential moving average is perfectly normal. That's what's to be expected. Breaking above here should then have the power to do one of those giant EOS moves that it does, that everyone goes, oh, why is EOS moving? Why has it moved 28%, which isn't much. That's perfectly reasonable to imagine that. We're going to do that once this is broken over here. Now, if we think what's going on the Itchy Cloud, we are looking to form a conversion baseline cross above the cloud, and the Chiku span so far is above price action. We'll have to see if this materializes, and if that is the case, that would be a trend form on the daily versus Bitcoin on EOS, and that would be a continuation type vibe. So rather than me selling everything at 1,600 sats, I'd probably sell maybe 25-30% at that and let the rest ride, because that would be a great signal. But at the moment we don't have that signal. The signal's still in the making. There's no point looking at it any other way. We've got to reclaim this 200 exponential first, and then see where we go from there. And finally, we'll just have a look at OMR. I know there's been a lot of other trades that I've made and that are still in the process, but this is a bit of an overview, really. So this one reached a pretty obvious area, I'd say, and is now consolidating from that zone. So if you have a look at what this is a small portion of support here, and a top here and a top here. So the interesting thing for this coin would be to reclaim basically half a cent, and then we would expect some giant moves from it. Now on this one we did have a good signal somewhere. Was it the weekly? Can I recall? It might have just been the daily. Let me just check that again. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's a conversion baseline. So this is a trend continuation from this retest here. So far that signal in itself has yielded to where we are right now, 42 to a maximum of 63. So not massive. We are expecting a lot more from this one. Consolidation is perfectly normal as we hit resistance here, and the money flow index read a 94. So that's definitely worth a pullback at that stage. With a coin like this, small cap, kind of well, I won't call it any naughty names. I mean, it's a decent looking chart for for what it is, but small cap coin that's reached a specific peak on the daily. A consolidation at least to the 10 exponential will be required, maybe all the way down to its previous resistance, which should hopefully flip to support. So back down to 0.34 of a cent maybe, but that's worst case scenario. These moving averages are all quite steep, so it should be picked up at either the 10, maybe even the 21, and again these will move up every single day. So this is still a trend in the making. Breaking above here would have a large big move. So this is still in the making. EOS still in the making, XRP still in the making, and FET is still in the making. Profit been taken from VRA and StormX so far, but doesn't mean that those trends do not. They've probably still got a lot further to go. They do have a lot further to go, definitely. But yeah, right. I'll leave it with you there. I will make some more videos throughout the day. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments. Otherwise, you can join the Patreon for £7.50 a month. We do live streams twice a week. We look at all these altcoins, and at the moment, I think that there is likely to be a rotation into Bitcoin, any minute really, any minute, and that could mean that altcoins do suffer in the short term. They might be dragged along with Bitcoin, but Bitcoin is probably going to be the major performer throughout that period. It's always something that I'm very cautious of, because for those who have not been around, especially from last year, that's exactly what happened in the fourth quarter last year. In fact, a whole year ago, that's exactly what happened. Bitcoin launched 300%, and altcoins were basically having their market caps drained, put into Bitcoin, and that was when the Bitcoin dominance was at a much higher level. So it's something definitely to be worth considering, which is why I am taking profit at specific areas, because it's not that I'm expecting that to happen. I think it's not unreasonable to imagine that happening. I'm not going to say it's likely or unlikely, but it is a possibility, one that we saw a year ago, and it was painful for a lot of altcoins, especially the small cap altcoins. They some of them actually lost money versus the dollar compared to Bitcoin, which rallied 300%. So let's not get greedy. Let's stick to the program. Let's stick to the plan. And yeah, I mean, I'm bullish on the entire market. There's no question. But if you want to play the market correctly, you would really want to think about taking some profit, and I'm taking my profit into Bitcoin at the moment, not taking any into Tether. Actually I am a tiny bit, but on a ratio I'd probably say it's 80% profit taken to Bitcoin, 20% into Tether. Anyway, I'll leave it with you there. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a nice day. Take it easy.